Welcome to the Destiny Awakening Interviews, a podcast with Andrew Wayfinder and his guests, bringing you powerful insights, inspiration, and ways to break free, live life your way, and make a difference in our changing and challenging world.
So hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to another edition of the Destiny Interviews. I'm Andrew Wayfinder here in London, and I'm joined today by Stella Sonnenbaum, sexological body worker and somatic sex educator. So a very warm welcome to you, Stella. And where are you hanging out today?
Thank you. I'm so glad that I can hang here with you, Andrew, and I'm in London.
Okay. And so Stella is the founder of StellaWithLove.com. And if you follow her around the internet the way I have, you'll discover that Stella has been featured in GQ, Cosmopolitan, Metro, Men's Health, and even been interviewed on BBC One. But more than that, she has extraordinary testimonials from clients whose relationships, intimacy, and sexuality has been completely transformed and awakened by working with Stella. Stella helps men, women, non-binary, and fluid individuals and couples of all gender and orientation with sexuality and relationship issues. And she does this with personal sessions, courses, and in non-COVID times, cuddle parties. So thank you, Stella, for your time today. And our title today is Top Tips to Keep Your Relationship Juicy. And Stella is going to show us exactly how to do that by answering 6 questions. So Stella, the time starts now. The first question is, who is your ideal client and what is the transformation you help them achieve?
You know, Andrew, I really love working with couples because for couples, it's really important to keep the eroticism alive. Couples may be very well aware that they need to talk to each other, that they need to sit down and be intimate and real with each other. But what a lot of them don't do is cultivate eroticism. And I can help them rediscover that eroticism, even if they've been together like for 25 years or longer. And to find a way of lovemaking that doesn't feel like a chore, as it so often do for many couples.
Yeah. Lovemaking is a chore. Some people might say that's like that's a high quality problem to have.
That's true as well.
Speaking as someone who's been single for a few years. So we're at just over a minute. Question number 2, what's the biggest challenge they face?
Especially now in COVID times with lockdowns and everything, a lot of couples now both work from home. So both people work from home. And that means that they spend much more time in physical proximity. And for part of the year, if they have children, they had the children around as well, because the schools were closed and so on. And so some couples report that they felt closer together than ever, but also like the sex was better than ever. Other couples report the opposite. And so that can even lead to very, very unpleasant manifestations like domestic violence and so on, when two individuals are in such a close proximity for 24/7, basically. Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that is difficult for eroticism and sexual attraction, because usually, let's face it, when couples plan date nights, it's usually a night out. Because they go to restaurants, they go to theaters or cinemas, and the reason being is that we want to see the partner in different surroundings than our usual domestic arrangements. And that is exciting. That makes us see our partner with new eyes, and also makes us see our partner with the eyes of others. because there are usually other people around, even if it's just waiter and waitress,
Mm-hmm.
to talk and engage with our partner. And that is conducive, this kind of newness and seeing each other anew for eroticism and sexual attraction. And so, however, that can also be cultivated in the setting that they are in, and that's what I help them with.
Okay, lovely. So that's at 3 minutes. We're at question number 4. Actually, no, number 3. What is your number one insight you can share to help them right now?
Eroticism does not need to lead to sex, so that can be something separate, but it can obviously. And so it's a question of managing expectations. So what I teach couples is to rediscover the sense of touch, which brings us into the moment and then actually enjoying touching our partner rather than touching them for their sake, so kind of caressing them. And that cultivates this kind of ravishing energy. And a simple practice is to just, with this energy, to just take one piece of clothing off of the partner, and then they can just give each other a kiss and go to bed. So it doesn't have to lead to sex.
That's quite... I just have, it sort of reminds me of a friend of mine some years ago. It was a woman in her mid 30s, and her girlfriend had a boyfriend who was 18. And she was saying, well, how do you have a relationship? I mean, he's so much younger, and what do you talk about? And her friend says, I don't care. I just rub his nose and he gets an erection.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
But I think, she was somebody who, from the most part, had been dating people her own age or even older. So, that eroticism component had really wilted for her, and so, yeah. So we're at almost 5 minutes. So it's question number 4. What concept, book, or program or talk has been most impactful for you and your experience?
What I use a lot is Betty Martin's Wheel of Consent and 3-Minute Game. Dr. Martin is actually from Seattle, and she teaches about looking at our own touch preferences. And so are we usually in a massage mode, as in like, what would you like to receive and I'll do it for you, which has its place, but it's not really these kind of lovers quadrants of ravishing and being ravished. And that is something, as once people become aware of it, that they say, oh, there's a different way of engaging with each other, with touch-wise, and also what kind of touch can we give each other, and how can we communicate about touch and preferences. And that's where the 3-minute game comes in, that I teach couples, which has 2 questions. How would you like me to touch you for 3 minutes? And how would you like to touch me for 3 minutes? And then you swap around.
That's that reminds me. I mean, because you're right, touch is so important. I was talking with a friend of mine, COVID story, and they were in lockdown. Wife and child were trapped in another country. They were locked down at home for 4 months with no contact. Mm-hmm. I mean, people weren't coming in, the people who used to come into the house weren't. And they said that, once the lockdown eased some weeks ago or a month or so ago, they had a massage. And as soon as the massage person started to touch them, they burst into tears. So we'll definitely put a link to that book in the show notes. So now we're at almost 7 minutes. So we're at question number 6, the last one. What should I have asked you that I didn't? And what would your answer be?
It was difficult to see people in person, obviously, during this year. And but what I've done more than ever are Zoom sessions. And I noticed that Zoom sessions work a treat with couples. First of all, often they can't leave the house, and children are around, and it's difficult to get childcare and still have privacy. However, Zoom sessions they can do with me, and we can do touch exercises off camera. And so I can demo something and they can repeat that and then feedback. And also what actually a lot of people have asked me to do with them are tantric practices. Because my background is in tantra, that's something I can easily teach, and it can be as simple as eye gazing.
Mhm.
That is wonderful to have a facilitator like me there, because couples may feel it's difficult to initiate that. But the eye gazing itself is a very strong practice of vulnerability, of intimacy, and so of being seen and seeing each other in a new way, and to have someone like me like facilitate that, and for them to kind of like get into that and be inspired to carry on at home. That was really beautiful.
Okay. And for those who don't know the word tantra, what is tantra?
Mhm. Tantra is, we could say, like a philosophy, or also like a religion that comes from India originally. And so that has been adopted via Neo-Tantra in the West. And so basically it's about how to achieve a deeper, a better level of lovemaking by involving more of us. So originally it's a spiritual path in its origin, and there's a white tantra which is non-sexual, and the red tantra which is sexual.
Okay, great. And this is something you're an expert in and you bring into this couples work.
It's one
That's
of the
yeah.
backgrounds, yeah, tantra.
Okay. And that probably accounts for some of the really powerful and stirring testimonials and stories that I read on your website.
So to be honest, this is something that I've only just like rediscovered with couples now, and so usually it's like sexological bodywork I do and somatic sex education, but I draw on a lot of different disciplines.
Okay, perfect. So Stella, thank you so much for your time.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Andrew.
Okay, have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Destiny Awakening interviews. If you have a friend who would benefit, please share and subscribe to the show on iTunes and leave a review. We really appreciate it. And remember, always use your power for good.